While floating down the river on a boat that is about to go down a waterfall, Sergei has philosophical thoughts about the nature of relationships and remembers how it all started 3 years ago. Sergei is an architect running through a park with a beautiful architectural model in his hands, arriving late to a meeting with his best friend Vovka and a potential client that will get them their first contract ever. When Sergei realizes he took a wrong turn, he accidentally slips, causing him to bump into Marina while his model flies away. Sergei is immediately impressed by Marina's beauty and helps her pick up her things, but before he can say anything, Marina's parents interrupt them and scold Sergei for not being more careful. The family tries to walk away, but Sergei begins a speech about him and Marina having been married in another life. Marina smiles, but her parents take her away as they remind her to concentrate on the upcoming competition. At that moment, it starts to rain, and Vovka reminds Sergei on the phone that they don't have much time left. However, Sergei sees having met Marina as a sign of destiny, so he tells Vovka to start without him. Afterward, Sergei runs after the family, but he isn't allowed to enter the competition area. It turns out Marina is a professional archer, and if she wins today's regional tournament, in a few years she'll be able to go to the Olympics. She's extremely good and quickly gains points with talented shots without letting the rain bother her, but her opponent is good as well and soon they reach a tie. Meanwhile, Sergei tries to find another way to enter the area, occasionally checking on Marina through a hole in the wall. When he finds a big trash can, he climbs on top of it and jumps over the wall, then he starts running through the bushes. Eventually he finally comes out in the competition area, only to distract Marina on her final shot and cause her to shoot his shoulder instead, which makes her lose. Marina rushes to check on Sergei, but he doesn't seem to be in pain. Instead, he begins talking about a vision he had of him and Marina having a happy married life together. Soon doctors arrive and take Sergei away in an ambulance as they tell Marina not to worry because Sergei will be fine for the wedding. Later, Sergei escapes from the hospital just so he could propose to Marina. 3 years pass of them having a married life, but soon things begin turning bitter. Sergei is a workaholic, and on the day of their anniversary, he doesn't show up. Marina has prepared a romantic dinner, only to end up throwing the cake in the trash. At the company, Sergei and Vovka reveal they've fought for 3 years to get this project, and this finally is Sergei's chance to be head architect. That's why he stays at work late if necessary. Once the meeting is finally over, he rushes back to the apartment with flowers and an apology, explaining how important this project is. However, Marina has given up on the dinner and is hiding in the bedroom, which she has locked up. Sergei insists they can move the celebration to the next day and even share it with her parents, and Marina accepts, but she still makes Sergei sleep on the couch. The next morning, Marina goes to the gym, and during practice, she hears her friend complain about the fact her husband changed a lot and even takes his phone to the bathroom, which makes her suspect betrayal. This leaves Marina thinking about the state of his relationship with Sergei. Later, the couple has their anniversary celebration with Marina's parents, and her dad tries to read a special letter he wrote for them. His speech is interrupted by Sergei's phone ringing, and he goes to another room to take the call. Marina gets frustrated and immediately brings him back, reminding him that he promised to behave. Her dad tries once more, but Sergei's phone rings and he leaves the table again. Seeing as they're getting nothing done, Marina's parents leave. Afterward, a furious Marina tries to have a serious talk with Sergei, but he goes to the balcony to keep having his phone call. Finally giving up, Marina grabs a suitcase and leaves the apartment to stay with her parents. When Sergei sees her on the streets, he finally hangs up and goes after her, asking her to talk, but Marina ignores him and takes the bus. Sergei follows them and tries to give a speech from the other end of the bus, which everyone can hear. He wants to work things out and mentions how much he cares, but Marina replies with all the times he's chosen work over her, and now everyone on the bus is on her side. Desperate not to lose her, Sergei offers to leave on a vacation to an exotic island tomorrow without caring about their jobs and promising not to take any more calls. Marina hesitates, but after everyone on the bus urges her to answer, she says yes. At the same time, some fireworks go off nearby. The next morning, Sergei tells his boss that he'll be taking the week off, and his boss replies he'll give the project to another department. Sergei refuses to accept this and destroys the boss's paperwork. Afterward, Sergei goes home and finds Marina in a very bad mood. It turns out she wasn't given the vacation time because her company doesn't have anyone to replace it, and she feels bad because Sergei did give up his project for their plans. Sergei pretends to be sad, but he's actually happy that he'll go back to work. However, his mood falls when suddenly Marina calls her boss and quits, saying that family is more important. While Marina does the packing for the trip, Sergei calls Vovka and tells him to pretend Sergei is still going to the office to trick their boss into not transferring the project. Later, the couple leaves on a plane and they watch a documentary about the indigenous people that live on those islands, learning that wives eat their husbands if they fail them. When they make it to their destination, they enjoy a delightful ride to the hotel. Meanwhile, in the city, Vovka puts Sergei's jacket on his chair and opens his email inbox on the computer. This makes the boss believe Sergei is in the office, and he tells Vovka that they're having a meeting today. At that hotel, Sergei gets a call from Vovka and ignores it. However, once they make it to their room, Marina announces she'll have a shower, and Sergei knows it'll take a while. He uses this chance to call Vovka, and when he learns about the meeting, he makes a plan. He sits in front of a neutral-looking window and borrows a uniform from a waiter so he can be at the meeting through a video call. He tries to pretend he's at the company's lab overseeing his project, but at that moment, the waiter opens the window, which reveals a bunch of animals outside. Sergei thinks fast and says these are 3D windows, which are part of the project. The clients are shocked at first but end up loving the idea. At that moment Marina comes looking for him, so Sergei leaves Vovka in charge and pulls up the weather forecast to pretend he hadn't been working. Marina sits with him and kisses him, unaware that the camera is still recording. Then the couple goes to rent a boat to visit the islands. The employee tries to warn them there's a storm coming, but they can't understand his language and the couple leaves anyway after taking the employee's radio. For the next few hours, the couple has a lot of fun sailing together and admiring the view. Whenever Sergei gets a call, he ignores it and puts all his attention on his wife. Unfortunately, Sergei's enthusiasm makes him sail further than he should, and soon the storm catches up to them. They sail the best they can through the heavy hits of the waves and lightning keeps cracking in the sky. Eventually the storm calms down, but now the couple is in the middle of nowhere with no clue of how to go back. At that moment Sergei sees an island nearby and pretends that's exactly where he planned to go in the first place. They take the boat there and Sergei says this is a surprise for Marina because now they can have a real adventure. He also tells her to rest while he goes looking for fruit to eat, but actually he's looking for a spot on the island where he can get a signal for his phone. After wandering around with no luck, he decides to take off his belt and use it to climb a tree until he's high enough to finally get a signal. He calls Vovka and learns he's furious because everyone at the office wants to know how they'll install 3D windows. To make matters worse, they've seen him and Marina kissing for the camera, and they want Sergei there for a meeting the next morning. At that moment, Marina takes a break from swimming and looks up to find Sergei on the tree, so she goes to see what's going on. She arrives just in time to hear him say to Vovka that the most important thing is for Marina not to know about this or she'll make him miserable. As she begins suspecting he's cheating on her, Marina calls Sergei's name, and he pretends he climbed the tree to get coconuts. In the evening, the couple has a sweet moment together next to the bonfire, but even in his dreams, Sergei talks about a meeting he must attend in the morning. Marina takes his phone but isn't able to look at its contents because of the password, which was among the list of proof of cheating her friend told her about. Then she watches the boat to get a different idea. The next morning, Sergei desperately jumps into the sea when he realizes the boat is gone, and apparently his phone has disappeared as well. Marina teases him for his reaction since he had said this is a very touristic spot and therefore tourists should find them soon. Afterward, Marina says she'll go looking for food, and Sergei follows her to discover the secret spot where she hid the boat, revealing she has the only key to activate it. Then they have a little picnic with the things they brought in a bag for the trip, and Marina remembers the documentary from the plane, reminding Sergei that women that used to live here ate their husbands if they cheated. Sergei plays along and reminds her that husbands did the same to their wives, but he keeps staring at the key hanging around Marina's neck. The next morning, Marina wakes up to discover the key is gone and Sergei has tied her up. Sergei gets on the boat and complains about probably being unemployed now for missing the meeting. Then he tries to sail away while ignoring Martina's warnings. Martina doesn't look worried and uses a knife to cut the rope, going away while the boat suddenly stops. It turns out she had anchored the boat and it gets pulled back, throwing Sergei into the water as it sinks. Sometime later, Marina uses the knife to cut some wood and vines to make a bow. Meanwhile, Sergei is looking for her and enters a cave where he finds various tools and the creepy bodies of previous tourists. When he finds the exit, he learns that this is the eye socket of a skull-shaped mountain, and apparently there are natives living nearby. Terrified, Sergei starts running away, only to bump into Marina. Before he can warn her that the cannibals from the documentary are still around, Marina starts shooting arrows at him. Sergei quickly dodges them and hides behind a tree while Marina starts accusing him of being a cheater. Sergei still tries to warn her about the locals and throws a coconut to stop her latest arrow. Then he begins running and Marina chases him, shooting one more arrow that he manages to stop just in time with a branch. This allows him to jump out of sight, and Marina loses track of him. Moments later, Marina washes herself in a waterfall while Sergei rants about his problems to a baby animal. Eventually he gets tired and falls to the ground, where he eats the first edible-looking plant he can find. Suddenly he can hear Vovka's voice asking him a question and some sheets of paper appear with a pen next to him, which he quickly uses to provide an answer to the question. At that moment Vovka shows up and tells him he's a genius for solving all the project's problems. Vovka isn't surprised to hear Monica wants to kill Sergei, claiming he never trusted her and that she had been dreaming of ruining their project. Sergei is shocked to hear this, and Vovka reveals he's just a hallucination caused by the berries Sergei ate. Afterward, the men go back to the sea and Vovka explains there's a way to bring the boat back. They dive in, tie a few ropes to it, and then start pulling until the boat resurfaces. Sergei doesn't want to leave without Marina though, but at that moment she shows up and shoots an arrow that lands on the boat. As Vovka disappears, Sergei runs to hide behind the boat and tries to convince her to leave together, but Marina shoots an arrow with fire and the boat begins to burn down. Sergei uses this chance to escape and goes back to ranting about his problems to the animals. Meanwhile, Marina finds a trap in an old tourist body, confirming the presence of the natives. Speaking of the locals, two of them are gathering resources nearby, and Sergei uses the chance to steal their boat and escape through the river. After swimming like crazy for a few hours, Sergei makes it to the shore and begins eating berries again, hoping they'll make Vovka reappear. However, the one that shows up is Marina's father, who starts scolding Sergei for his treatment of Marina. All this is watched by a native in the bushes, and since he can't see the old man, he thinks Sergei is crazy. After lots of arguing, Marina's father tells Sergei that his duty is to protect his wife, so Sergei should knock Marina out and put her in the boat to escape together. The men enter the forest and find Marina nearby, so Sergei slowly approaches her from behind, making sure she doesn't see him when she turns. He hesitates to strike, but the father insists before disappearing, so Sergei hits Marina with a branch to knock her out. When he comes closer to check on her, he accidentally steps on a trap that leaves him hanging upside down from a tree. Marina wakes up and hesitates to release him, but at that moment the natives show up and Marina runs away. While a few men take Sergei from the trap, another group chases after Marina. She runs as fast as she can and eventually finds the natives' village, so she hides in one of the tents. The hunters quickly arrive and begin looking all over the village for Marina while a native woman complains about her husband never being home. When he comes looking for Marina, he ignores his wife's affection, and now the woman is so hurt that she keeps Marina's location a secret when she sees her in a tent. After her husband is gone, the woman takes a closer look at Marina, finding her very curious and being charmed by her wedding ring. By the time the men find the tent, both women are gone. Marina is running through the forest and the hunters are coming after her, but just in time Sergei grabs her and drags her into a cave. He offers to work together to escape, but Marina begins attacking as she accuses him of cheating. Sergei tries to explain he isn't having an affair while hiding behind the various objects in the cave, causing some bodies to fall on top of Marina. She also uses any object she can find to attack, and once she runs out of things, she changes to punching Sergei directly with her fists. A hand-to-hand fight ensues, and after they exchange a few hits and throw each other all over the place, Sergei ends up unconscious on the floor. Worried, Marina starts doing CPR, and when Sergei doesn't react, she cries as she hits his chest in frustration. This finally makes him wake up. Afterward, the couple escapes together through the forest, and Sergei reaches the conclusion they should divorce. Marina is hurt to hear this but still agrees. They start insulting each other, pointing out that if they hadn't met, Sergei would already be head architect and Marina would be in the Olympics. Suddenly they both freeze and fall to the ground, revealing that the natives have put them to sleep with darts. Moments later, the shaman prepares the ritual to get rid of the couple, going back to the beginning of the story. Both are given something nasty to drink, but while Sergei is tied to a boat, Marina is tied to a pyre. While the natives start the ritual, Sergei is pushed down the river on the boat and he starts thinking about the relationships, remembering the day he met Marina. At that moment, he realizes he hadn't distracted her. Back then she had also believed in destiny and failed her shot on purpose, just like he ignored the meeting. Finally believing in love again, Sergei immediately looks for a way out and hears a monkey screaming, allowing him to see some land where he can jump onto to escape. After lots of effort to climb up the vines, Sergei returns to the village and sneaks in by pretending to be one of the dancers around the pyre. When he sees an opening, he runs to Marina, who has stayed calm all along and ignores him. He tries to make her snap out of it, but at that moment the leader announces it's time for the sacrifice. A desperate Sergei steals a spear and threatens the leader with it, begging Marina to escape. When she doesn't react, he starts telling her about revisiting their old memories together and confesses he can't live without her. He's finally seen how much she sacrificed for him, so now it's his turn to sacrifice something in return. Marina finally reacts and cuts a few ropes with the knife, accepting Sergei's offer. The natives try to take Sergei away while the leader lights up the pyre, but Sergei turns around and starts fighting them. After knocking down the leader, he pushes the pyre away and uses all his strength to pick up the trunk with Marina on it. Then he starts running as the natives chase him, only to reach the edge of the cliff and jump into the water. The couple kisses as they fall, and thanks to the trunk, they manage to stay afloat. The natives begin throwing arrows and spears at them while Sergei moves the trunk around to dodge them, but Marina won't stop talking, saying she doesn't actually want a divorce and that Sergei needs to balance his work and his love life. To shut her up, Sergei turns the trunk and while she's underwater, he finally removes the final ropes to release her. Afterward, they reach the shore and find the boat Sergei stole from the natives earlier. As they put it on the seawater to escape, a native shows up to attack, so Sergei pushes the boat with Marina away while he goes back to fight. Both men attack at the same time and the native falls unconscious while Sergei merely falls to the ground. Marina runs back and hugs her husband while the woman from earlier shows up, showing she got Marina's ring in exchange for letting her escape. Now they make a new deal. She returns the ring in exchange for her husband's body so she can finally eat it. The couple escapes in the boat, rowing even when their arms are tired. A few days later, they return safely to the city, where Marina's parents come to pick them up. Sergei tells them the truth of what happened, but they're weirded out, so he pretends he was joking instead. At that moment Vovka shows up and reveals that he got the solution for their work problem in a dream, which mysteriously looks like what Sergei made while hallucinating. The company will open a new branch and they want Sergei to be the head architect there, but when he sees Marina's face, he rushes back to her and tells her he didn't get the position. Marina is extremely touched by his white lie, but she also wonders how they'll pay their mortgage. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.